what does Jesus mean by tetelestai? Well, look at the Greek of John 19. Jesus says, knowing that all was now finished, again, tetelestai is used right there. Here's an important bit. John 19, verse 28 uses tetelestai, and then verse 30 uses tetelestai. And evangelicals take his meaning in verse 30 without acknowledging the meaning in verse 28, because in verse 28, what's being fulfilled is not a debt of sin. What's being fulfilled is the scripture. That scripture is now being fulfilled. And then in case we missed that, in case we had any ambiguity, John says, after having said all was now fulfilled, he then says to fulfill the scripture and uses a variant, the teteliathoi. And so it's very clear from John 19, 28 to 30, what it is that's being fulfilled here. Scripture is being fulfilled here. Now, how is Scripture being fulfilled by Jesus saying, I thirst? Why does John say that he says this to fulfill the Scripture? I mean, surely Jesus was thirsty before this. Now, there's a whole sacrificial dimension. Obviously, he'd been thirsting before that. So the thirst of Christ is to fulfill the Scripture, is the culmination of these things. You have to understand tetelestai in light of that. The idea that Christ says it is finished, so therefore the entire work of our redemption is finished, or the entire work of justification is finished, that's bad exegesis. What's more, St. Paul explicitly says Christ rose again for our justification. So that read of Scripture is actually contradicted by the New Testament. No, if you understand what's happening sacrificially, this is, by all means, a once-for-all portion of the sacrifice. This is not the complete sacrifice that Jesus offers us. This is part of it.